Coming up on today's episode.
Pretty much it, because you've lodged your tax returns. You've presented to the ATO that this is your profit for the year and this is your income for the year.
Yeah.
You've locked in yourself. There's no going back from there.
Far out.
It's pretty simple. You've logged in for that financial year. Comes next financial year, start meeting the right people and start making wise decisions after that. Structure, timing, lender choice. Let the specialist hand for you.
Dodgy advice and bad decisions can cost you big in real estate. We're here to make sure that doesn't happen. Welcome to the No BS Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Agresta, and it's time to take control of your property journey together. Welcome back, everyone, to the No BS Real Estate Podcast, your listening how-to guide to the Aussie finance and real estate market. I'm your host, Joe Agresta. Now, today's episode is very deliberate for anyone who is self-employed, running a business, contracting, or earning income outside of a standard PAYG payslip, and has either tried to buy property or maybe thinking about it, and you already feel overwhelmed or maybe shut down by the entire process. We're unpacking why property as a business owner feels harder, what banks are actually looking for behind the scenes and what they're looking at, and how planning makes a massive difference to outcomes. So this isn't just about hype. This is about understanding the actual system. We don't want to game it. We don't want to shortcut it. So let's understand the system and work with it instead of constantly feeling like you're doing something wrong. Joining me today is Anmol, a mortgage broker and director of Win Financial Group. Anmol has a strong accounting background and specialises in working with self-employed buyers and business owners. So this topic is very much in his lane and something he deals with every single day. Anmol, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I'm really excited to be here and more excited to talk about this topic because I feel self-employed people are very hardworking people, but system is unfortunately not always built for them. So I'm very excited to unpack it.
No, and like who better than two business owners to unpack the struggles of getting a home loan? But no, I'm so excited to have you here because when we had our pre-podcast discussion, we always do a pre-interview, and what I enjoyed so much was your passion behind this subject and the knowledge you had in how to make it better or how you actually help everyday people. And you've helped so many. Your Google reviews are off the charts.
Thank you.
And we're right in the same backyard. We're here in the southeastern suburbs.
100%.
So no, let's get into it. And before we officially kick off, we're going to start with our no BS statement for the day. If you're self-employed and you don't understand how banks assess your income, you're probably making decisions right now that are quietly hurting your borrowing power. So by the end of the episode, we're going to come back to that and we're going to decide if it's bullshit or not.
100%.
Okay, so Anmol, the best place to start is always your story. You know, what originally drew you into the world of finance and mortgage broking?
Look, Joe, my background back home in India was accounting. So I did my chartered accounting, Bachelor's of Commerce, came into the country in 2013, did my double masters in accounting and finance. So I knew a lot about finance, but in practical world, I knew it's a different game altogether.
So different.
So when I came into broking, I realized the process itself could be done in a better way. You know, if I look at 2017 when I bought my first property, it was an overwhelming process. And I look back and say, hey, I did everything wrong.
Oh, wow. I think that's a lot of us, though, to be
100%.
honest.
Again, finance wasn't my first. I started my career in Australia working in retail and made my way up to management at Telstra. But when I joined in finance and meeting everyday people who are trying to buy property, it was so overwhelming that nobody was willing to hold their hand. I think it's not about, hey, this is my payslip, get my loan done. There's 25,000 of us to do that. Who can do it better? Who can relate to people? Who's empathetic, compassionate, and guide them through? If they're not ready today, they can guide them through along the journey and make it feel better.
100%. And it's so true. Like, I think for a lot of us who are in the property background, we've had our own experience when trying to buy property. And somehow, no matter how much knowledge you have the emotion, and then it seems like the frustration of the process kicks in, you know, and that's where we kind of understand this needs to be done better. What can I do to contribute to that process? So I love that that's where the passion comes from, right? And, you know, was there a moment, I guess, where you realised, was it your own purchase, like that home buying or the lending process was broken for a lot of people?
Yeah, 2017 was the start. I started my broking in 2020. 2017, I bought my first property and I realised, hey, this could have been handled better or done in a better way. And I think me as the consumer at that time could have done a bit of research, and I tell all my clients, you can have good people in your team, real estate agents, conveyancers, buyers agents, mortgage brokers, but I expect you to do some research on your end, not chat GPT. There has to be a better way to research it. So I believe very early in my career, unfortunately for me, I saw that the process is broken. Sat down with a young couple running their own business who thought they're running it all perfect. On paper, they had stable contracts, good employees working for them. But when they go to the bank, the borrowing capacity didn't stack up. A lot of people feel if the turnover is there, the bank would lend them money. If the business is able to meet the commitments, they can buy a home as well. No, the banks would look at what you are actually making on paper, not your turnover.
Yeah, which is very different.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's ways to show it. I'm not saying pay millions of dollars of tax, but I think this is where the space is. The brokers, the accountants, and the clients need to work together, especially for self-employed people. For PAYG, you can't do anything. Whatever they're making, they're making. Whatever their living expenses are, they are on paper. You got to disclose them as is, and whatever comes out, comes out. But for self-employed people, I think it's you can make it the best of the best if you work with the right people.
It's true, because with self-employment, and you and I would both know this, it's that volatility that until your business is stable enough to cope with that reoccurring revenue, and this is why a lot of like newer businesses or maybe owners that are a year in, depending on the type of business, it can be a real struggle.
100%.
And like banks aren't exactly looking at it from a cookie cutter approach, like you said, that it's a PAYG or it's a turnover question. So it makes it difficult, and that's why I'm exactly excited to get into the topic.
100%. Funny enough, a lot of people I've seen making 120 grand on PAYG can borrow more money than someone who has $1 million turnover in their business.
That's crazy. What do you think that is? Like, what's the bank thinking? What do we have to do?
100%. Look, banks looking at the taxable income, your turnover might be 5 million, but if the taxable income is $100,000, your accountant's doing the smart thing for you. You're paying less tax. You want to kiss your accountant, but the banks don't want to hug you.
Yeah.
So
right.
I believe, again, as I said, there has to be a smarter way of doing it. You can't achieve both tax minimization and borrowing capacity. There has to be a middle ground for it. You need to know your goals. You need to work with your accountant and your mortgage broker to make sure you meet in the middle somewhere and not just keep minimizing tax and expect the banks to do the magic.
And it's all like a fine balancing act, which 100%. Is what we're going to 100% get into. And I guess, when you saw like obviously this process, there's a heavy focus on, or your specialty on these, self-employed or like, own business owners. Was there a client or like a moment where that kind of was a light bulb for you, where you saw that and went, this is shocking?
Look, coming from accounting background helped. I used to deal with a lot of business owners back in India when I used to study CA and work under a chartered accounting myself. Coming into the country and working at Telstra, I used to meet a lot of business owners. Business owners deal with a lot. Yep. Not just buying a home. They work with managing their business, managing their staff. I believe it's a good place to be at, being a mortgage broker. Of course, we help PAYG, but I've designed Win Financial Group in a way where we can help self-employed people even more. My wife heads asset finance division. We help business owners expand their fleet, buy equipment. I get every day a business owner who used to drive truck for someone. He started his own transport company. He says the bank is not going to lend him money to buy a truck. How bad is that? There has to be a policy understanding to what bank needs to see. It involves a lot of storytelling, for which you have to become good at, being a broker and an accountant. Mm-hmm. All my staff, be it compliance managers, my EA, my support staff, we deep dive into business financials to understand how we can help self-employed people. That's where the magic is. It doesn't mean that we won't help your everyday PAYG
of course.
People. That comes in, but self-employed people, I think, is where it's at. And a lot of brokers I've seen shy away from it. Yeah,
they do, because it's complex.
100%.
Or sometimes it can be longer, drawn out. It's like you're normally potentially giving away plans.
I wouldn't say I learned it over time. Few declinals, few learning about how to write a story, how to explain it.
Yeah.
I think taught me a lot of things.
Well, that's like the magic of using a broker, right? Because, you've got the relationships with the banks. You kind of get to know what they're going to approve, what they're going to reject, what they need to see. And this is the difference with going to a bank in, contrast.
Yeah.
They have their product. They have their rules.
100%.
Are you buying or not?
100%.
Are you allowed or not?
100%.
And, I want to get into, I guess why the self-employed struggle, and we'll unpack and deep dive. So with borrowing power, we kind of touched on it. Why does that feel so different for self-employed buyers compared to your PAYG?
With PAYG, Joe, the bank's lending you to your actual income, whatever looks on paper on your payslip, the bank's lending on that. When it comes to self-employed, the bank's lending to you and your business as a whole. They're lending to the engine that produces your income. So they need to look at the whole lot. Is the business sustainable? Business might be sustainable today, but banks look at it from the perspective if this business will do well in the next 5-10 years, because you're not taking out a 1-year mortgage.
True.
You want this guy to be doing well for years to come so he meets his commitments.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of storytelling. PAYG, hey, you can explain this guy was working here middle of last year. He changed his job. It's a new job. It's in the same field. What happened there? That's a simple storytelling. With business, I've got clients who made 100 grand profit in 2024 and 600 grand profit in 2025.
Wow.
Now, going to a bank where you have to present 2 years financials, how do you explain that? Yes, 2024, he was in acquisition strategy. He was buying trucks, being a transporter. You could see that on the balance sheet. He was spending a lot of money on marketing. He was out there. The profit wasn't there. The turnover wasn't there. 2025, all the activities that he did in 2024 paid off. The bank's still not happy. Attach the latest 3 months, 6 months bank statements to show, hey, whatever we're showing in 2025 is aligned to 2026 as well. It's happening still. It was not a 1-year win. It's happening for years to come.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I've done it so many times where the client thought, hey, I need 2 years consistent. No, you don't. There's ways to tell a story.
So, and I think that's the hard part for us because, when you plan a business, it's always to grow. No one starts a business for it to fail.
100%.
So we know that's a really great example that you shared is you have to think of it as an engine.
Take my example, coming from a full-time PAYG, starting my broking career. My broking was 1 year old and I was told I can't buy. Now, if I do my own loan, I would have lent myself money. I would have got my loan approved.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's insane to me to hear that. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're playing with the right person here. And I guess when the income is coming from a business, what do the banks then look at as for the assessment criteria?
Banks looking at your business financials, obviously your net profit. They're looking at add backs that they can take. They're looking at interest repayments that you're making for your business liabilities. They're looking at director's drawings or director wages that you're paying yourself from the business.
Yep.
And they're looking at trends. How's your business doing from the last year to this year?
So
how much banks love consistency. Banks love sustainability. Wherever they can smell a bit of difference and they can smell that the business is not consistent, they're going to tighten the screws and look at you more. They're going to ask for more documents. Of course, we'll provide it if needed. Yeah. But I'm a big believer, whatever's in the policy, just present that and get it done.
Yeah, it's like you just put it all forward. And then in terms of the switching gears a tiny bit, but what are the biggest red flags or risk factors banks see when they're assessing self-employed borrowers? Like when they get an application, what are they red flagging straight away?
You being the director, obviously they're going to look at your credit score to how your conduct is. Are you someone who's applying for a loan every month online and impacting your credit file? Apart from that, in your business, they're looking at, again, sustainability, your irregular drawings, multiple entities without any structure. Some people open different trusts thinking that, hey, they can maximize it. Again, lack of knowledge and DIY approach. You don't have the right people in your team. COVID impacted years was another one. I think it's gone now. It's been a while and thankfully it won't come again. Anything irregular of that sort, banks hate it.
Yes, it's that volatility again.
100%, yeah.
And I guess the confusion comes up constantly and it's not just hypothetical, right? Because I want to bring in a real world example and this is our Reddit Real Talk segment. This is a fan favourite. Shout out to those people who tune in all the time. Thank you for listening, but also for sharing these stories because then I get opportunities to ask them on the air with a professional. So we're going to read out this first one and it was submitted from the Oz Property Chat and it reads, Small business home lending. We own a business and we're currently leasing another business, so we have the income from two, but the debt from one. After reviewing our finances, a lender told us they were only willing to go to 80% loan to value ratio, so LVR, which means with a 95,000 deposit, they were only willing to lend us 300 to 350,000. But like, how can this be possible? Obviously, there's other liabilities and whatnot with our finances, but nothing dramatic. It just feels so low and unfair. Has anyone got a mortgage being a small business owner and can recommend who they went through? So these guys are trying to apply for a loan. They've got 2 businesses. They have income from 2, but the debt sits with one of the businesses. They reviewed finance with a lender that told us that they're only willing to go to 80% loan to value ratio, which means with a $95,000 deposit they have, they were only willing to lend $300,000 to $350,000. When you hear that scenario, what stands out at you straight away?
Debt against one business and owning one business, I think there's a structural mismatch right there.
Yeah.
Banks would definitely question sustainability. Being clients, it's fair to get emotional in that sense. But I must say, bank would straight away come back and say, we don't lend on your hustle. For you, you're hustling, you're growing, you've got income from 2 sources, not one, you've got 2 businesses. But bank would say, give me 2 years of financials, show me that you can service your debts, show me sustainability, show me your business experience.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, bank's not going to lend on hard work and hustle. Bank's going to lend on what you show on paper.
Yeah.
If you can service the debt, and it's not a fair statement to say that they can only go up to 80%. We've done loans up to 95%, including LMI. Of course, there's things for first home buyers where you don't pay LMI, but we've done loans for business owners that are 95%, including LMI, if positioned perfectly in front of a bank.
Yeah.
If banks can smell risk to them, their LMI team who ensures the bank is going to decline the deal right away.
Right.
Because tomorrow, if these clients don't pay the mortgage, the bank's at risk.
So, and like I would have assumed from this scenario, when I saw that they had 2 businesses, I thought, oh, well, that must be really good, even though there's debt in one, like, oh, that's great. And I assume from that perspective, I was, naively thinking, well, they have 2 businesses and they're drawing income from one, okay, fine, or from both. Wouldn't that be a good news story for a bank because it's more value in those 2 businesses?
It depends on how regular the income is. They're drawing income, how regular it is. Are they drawing it once off and then just letting it go and not able to meet it every month? Is there sustainability? Can they provide 2 years financials? If not 2 years, how's the recent financial looking like? I don't know who they went to, but there are banks out there who lend on just the current year.
Yeah.
Was the timing right in buying the second business? There's a lot of questions to be asked there to the clients.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack and understand under the scenes.
I think the clients think if the money is rolling in both the businesses, if the sales are there, that's fine. If we can meet business commitments, we can get a house. No, it doesn't work like that. Banks don't lend on turnover.
Yeah.
They lend on what's left over.
Sometimes the scary part. But I guess, why doesn't a business performing well automatically translate into strong borrowing power? Like they were approved for 300 to 350,000. Again, how can they increase that borrowing power? Like what would they have to be doing in their financials to get that number up to like a 600,000 or 700?
Again, a high turnover business doesn't mean a high borrowing capacity.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, a lot of business owners are trained to grow the business and make turnover look amazing, but they don't understand and they're never being taught how to make that turnover into stronger borrowing capacity. Strong, as I said before, strong turnover, strong clientele, strong staff doesn't mean your business is doing well. The banks also look at depreciation expenses, your business debts. Have you leased equipment? How much you're paying for that? How much you're paying for your rent? Are your drawings consistent? If you can't pay yourself, how are you supposed to pay your business, your personal debts? Banks also separate your business performance versus your personal performance, business liabilities to your personal liabilities. So there's a lot of things to consider here.
A quick pause. We'll be right back. Here's a word from one of our sponsors who supports the show. If you're in the middle of trying to buy property and you're overwhelmed by the hype, the noise, the pricing pressures and suburb trends, then this announcement's for you. Cameron Tyres from The Way to Invest works with everyday buyers or investors on how to actually navigate the property market and buy something before it becomes too overwhelming. Instead of speculation, he builds strategy first, so your purchase actually aligns with your long-term goals. If you want confidence instead of second guessing, then check out Cam Tyre's details for the way to invest in our show notes below.
Before lending to an individual who owns a business.
Yeah, because the individual, like you said, is taken into consideration with their background.
Correct.
So their personal situation as well as the business.
Business situation.
Because you said something interesting earlier, and I'm hoping I can remember exactly what it was, but more on the lending side, and you said when it comes to the tax, like the capital gains, not capital gains, the tax component, like your strategy, not working with, you wanting to borrow money for a house and getting more from your borrowing capacity. Instead, you're offsetting a lot of your tax expenses, and that sometimes doesn't work out when you're trying to borrow.
100%. So being a self-employed, my first question to my clients is, when did you last speak to your accountant? I want to know how much the tuning is. It's not that you're making money. A lot of my clients, funny enough, says, hey, he sends me a GST working after a quarter, tells me to sign if it looks good and asks me to pay my GST bill. Well, read it. Read it. Read your business financials. Sit with him once a quarter. Do a 15-minute Zoom meeting. Have a lender on the side with you. Tell him your goals and tell your accountant. Loop them in together. Yeah. They should both know what you're trying to achieve. I've got clients who want to buy one property every year. Well, is it easy to achieve it? Being a self-employed, when you can make uncapped earnings, when you're good at earning income, it's achievable, but not at the cost of, not saying not at the cost of, but you can't achieve tax minimization in properties every year. You got to work with balance with your accountant and your mortgage broker. So then I guess for someone listening who's in the camp of, oh, well, I'm doing, I don't have a high borrowing capacity, so they're in that second tier, of they've got that issue. How do they start to make that transition to then, they want to change that strategy to start buying property? What's the kind of process? I'll give you a quick example. Say a business owner comes to me who has a turnover of $500,000 and what's left over is $100,000. Now, bank's going to lend out that $100,000, and with servicing buffer, their borrowing capacity might look like $400K. Yeah. If they come to us on time, not after lodging tax returns. See, this is another issue when business owners come to us. They say our tax returns are lodged where you're logged in. You are as good as someone who has a payslip to me because you've logged in your capacity. You've lodged your tax returns. You didn't tell your accountant that this is your goal. Otherwise, any accountant in today's age would have that knowledge that 100K can only get you so far. Correct. Come to us before you've lodged your tax return. We will tell you what it takes to borrow X amount of money, and again, compare it with your existing debts, your deposit size available. 100K can only lend you 400. If your budget was 600, we would have said, hey, come on, pay tax on retained earnings. Retain rather than 100K, retain 150 grand. You have a business debt in place. Let's look at refinancing that or minimizing that, because 50 to 60K reduction in a business debt plus 30 to 40K increase in profits can change your world, can change the borrowing capacity by hundreds of thousands. Yeah, 100%. I totally hear that. Totally hear it. and it's interesting. So I guess, when, as a, a purchaser myself or, as a business owner, what am I misunderstanding? Like, we're misunderstanding a few fundamentals here because, like you said, your turnover is not the factor that they're looking at. It's whatever you're taking. So if that's the 100,000, that's what what you have to work with until that increases. So I didn't realize that lodging your tax return locks in that. It's locked. That's what you're presenting to the bank. Wow. So I think there's a lot of people listening that probably don't realize because business owners are so diligent with doing their obligations on time. So they do it, but then it's like, well, now what are you going to do? Look, mortgage brokers who focus on self-employed clients, they would get as many calls as a client calls their accountant. So before the end of every financial year or even after the financial year ends, when the time's there to lodge their tax return, I would get a call from my client saying, Anmol, accountants sending us checklist of what they want to finalize tax return. Do you want to jump in and advise us there? What our properties look like now, how much equity we have, how much we can draw. The plan is to invest more. The plan is not to invest this year, up to you. But the plan is to expand income. Expand business. That's where my wife comes into the picture as well. She can guide them on what to do if the plans to sort of expand business fleet or buy more equipment, so we can work together in that sense. I think I'll keep rolling down to the fact that you need to have people close together. You can't. There is no DIY approach. There's no Chat GPT to help you here. You need people to work with you if you want to invest.
I couldn't agree more. The team around you is so fundamental. Like whether that's an advocate that's actually helping you buy the property,
100%.
And then having an accountant. And I think people misunderstand the role of accountant and mortgage broker. People just go, oh, well, the broker does that for me anyway.
Yeah.
And it's not until when, especially business owners listening, they already know this. They've worked out pretty quickly that bookkeeping and accounting is fundamental for the business to keep operating and keep turning over good money or whatever. But you all need to be aligned on strategy. And I think that's the key thing that you're saying.
Coming from
here.
accounting background helps too. I mean, I understand a fair bit of how an accountant works, what method he's taking to depreciate the assets, what expenses is he claiming, what personal expenses he can let go of to increase the business profits. I can guide him there. Like I don't need to guide, but if I need to jump in and give my 2 cents, I can. That's where it helps.
But that's a big point of difference for you though, because that knowledge is just extra, you know, if their accountant will probably love you.
100%.
Thanks for doing half the job. I appreciate it.
They do.
And I guess if we look at a timing of this problem, right? They've gone, maybe they've lodged their tax.
Yeah.
And now they're locked in. Is that now locked in for the rest of that financial year basically until they perform like they've reset the timer? Is that one of the issues?
Pretty much it, because you've lodged your tax returns. You've presented to the ATO that this is your profit for the year and this is your income for the year.
Yeah.
You've locked in yourself. You there's no going back from there.
Far out.
It's pretty simple. You've logged in for that financial year. Comes next financial year, start meeting the right people and start making wise decisions after that. Structure, timing, lender choice. Let the specialist hand for you. I had a client back in the day who was just a fan of this bank. I've banked with this bank since I came into the country in 1955. Whatnot. I was like, mate, this bank is not looking after you. You got to move away from them. And I'm not taking you to a tier 2 bank for no reason. I'm saying look beyond that. Look to a bank who just relies on current year financials, not 2 years. Look to a bank who've got better servicing capacity, not the same bank. So sometimes having that extra banks, being a broker, knowing policy in and out, having a supportive staff inside the bank helps, and it helps our clients more. There's a lot of times when we do policy exceptions. Whatever's written on the bank's website, we've been able to turn that around by proving how worthy this client is and why they should be given a mortgage. You spoke about 80%. We've convinced so many banks for new business owners to lend at 90. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can see the experience was there. They've done everything right. And a couple working in IT have opened their own IT firm. Doesn't change much. They got in contracts. They've got solid contracts in place. Give it to the bank. Show them that they've got these stable contracts in place, which locks in that income for the next 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
Again, nothing's permanent. Job's not permanent these days. Think about it. You could be laid off anytime if your company is not doing well.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to make the bank believe that these guys are worthy of making those repayments and paying this loan off. That's what bank cares about.
Yeah, it's just making the repayments.
They want to get their money back.
Yeah, of course. The world makes the money go round. Yeah. Money makes the world go round.
100%.
And I think let's bring some numbers into this discussion, right? Yeah. So based on this scenario, what do you think this person's numbers probably looked like on paper when they, you know, at the point, like from the bank's point of view? So let's theorize it. They've gone to the bank. What's the bank seen and gone, no way.
To give you an example, as I said before, say $1 million turnover of their business, and what's left over after deducting all the expenses was say 200 grand, and after paying themselves wages, say it got left with 150 grand. Now applying the interest rate servicing buffers and taking off the business liabilities from there and taking off their living expenses from there, you get left with a pretty less amount to service, say, as you said, 350 grand.
Yeah. Now this is all adding up, right? Because that maths is just, it's diluting.
The principle's the same, Joe. 2 people come to me with PAYG jobs, 100 grand and 100 grand. I got to deduct what all they have. Things. If they have 4 car loans, that gets minus. If they have $10,000 credit card that they haven't used, bank's going to take 4% serviceability on that. So 400 is going to go for a month, even if you haven't touched that credit card for a while. Same goes for the business credit card. You take off living expenses. You've got 3 kids and 2 people. I can't say that you spend $2,000 a month only. Banks have got their HEM calculator. They're going to take that. They're going to take, as per HEM, if your expenses are $5,000, they're $5,000. I can't change that. Nobody can. And then what's left over is left over to pay the loan repayments. And banks don't take loan repayments at 6% or whatever the rate is. They add serviceability buffer. They want to make sure you can make the repayment at 8% or 9% or whatever the case may be. So if there's a rate rise, you're not choking.
Yeah, and it makes sense now why you say that, because then these businesses who are thinking, but it's always the typical answer, even in home loans, it's but I have so much money.
I make $1 million, I can't get a home loan.
It's like, I can't get a home loan, or like I can, but it's stupid. And it's, again, like you said, it's like, we'll give it to you, but the serviceability, if interest rates go up, they need to know that you can manage it.
You've hustled hard, you've made money, you've done the hard work, but bank's not going to lend on your hustle. Bank's not going to lend on your social media profile. They're going to lend what you show on the paper. They care about that piece of paper. Well, so structure it well.
Because I always thought one of the combinations of things they would look at, I thought valuation, like business valuation, would be a consideration if that's an exit strategy. So if they wanted a loan, let's say I'm a business owner, I've built up my equity in this business, or the value of the business is worth X. Now I want to sell it.
I reckon that business value will stay all your life. Say my mortgage broking business has 600 clients now, and there is a recurring income of X amount. Do you reckon that will stay forever if I don't pay heed to my business, if I'm not doing justice day in, day out?
No.
It's goodwill.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. So it's not giving the bank any other assurance.
No, it's not assurance. It's what you're taking out from that business year on year. It's what's gonna bring you borrowing capacity.
I hope this is opening up our listeners' eyes a little bit, because one person actually...
Look, it helps in business lending. To give you a small example, and we're not going towards business lending, but again, being self-employed, savvy broker, I helped a lot of business owners buy different businesses too. When you're buying a business, you came to me, hey, I want to buy a bottle mart today for $500,000, and you already own a motel that's paid off. I could use this business as a security. You're going to give me financials for this year. A business bank would value your business as is. So there's been plenty of places where a guy wanting to buy a bottle mart didn't have to pay any deposit because bank took security over his existing motel as well and tied it all together, and he borrows 100% of this. Love it. Business banking. Residentials is different.
Yeah, it's not the same trade-offs.
No.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I guess it makes sense, right? Because in the business banking world, you would assume that they understand the business world. Are they kind of looking at different criteria or different performance metrics, whereas residential... It's like, hang on a minute.
Yeah, correct. Minus all your liabilities, living expenses, your Range Rover bills.
Your Range Rover bills. I wish. My Ford Falcon bills.
Could be anything.
And I guess, when we go into like the practical side of things, like what are the key numbers or patterns that banks care about most in situations like this? Like, is there a pattern or a methodology that the bank, outside of policy, right? Like, is there an example of a client that you've helped that maybe turned around a situation where they didn't think they would get any type of finance as a self-employed, but you managed to make that work?
If a person comes to me on time before lodging, I will look at their whole scenario, whether it's their business and their personal, and whatever I could clean up from there. I will see what's impacting this borrowing capacity. Debt A, debt B, what's costing them more money, where is most of the interest repayments are going. I'll try and clean that up.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of scenarios where I had to refinance a person's, say, car loan, or get him to close that credit card, work with them for 6 months to impact them, because a $20,000 credit card is $800 a month in commitments.
Yeah.
So $800 a month in commitments can open up to 50 grand more in borrowing capacity. It's a small credit card. I don't use it. I pay it off every month. No, bank's going to take $800. So it's working with them, and we've done it a lot of times. This is where I wanted to come into the picture being a mortgage broker, because I was told there's 20,000 of you guys. Why don't you join a bank and enjoy? Enjoy your 9 to 5, get a decent paycheck and stay. I was like, no, I can help an audience at large here. It would be a profitable organization. Everybody wants money, but it would be people over profits. It says that on the website, and we really mean it. We want to help them. If it takes 6 months, 12 months from now, we will keep helping them. And we're not charging you for helping you or keeping you accountable. Hey, pay off that debt. You do put an extra repayment on it to pay it off sooner. It looks better. And again, it's not just about clearing off debts, motivating them. I know a lot about my clients that when was the last pay rise given to them at their work, guiding them? It's not that I've worked 30 years, I don't know how corporate world works, but again, it's just having that chat to them. What can change here?
And what can be different.
Correct. To where you are now, to 1 year or 2 years from today. And I tell people not to rush. Don't get into that rat race. If your best friend's done it, if your neighbor's done it, it might not be the year for you. Might be 5 years down the line, but you'll be happier.
Yeah, and this is where like your service is so personalised with these situations. Like I don't think, the banking side has that level of personalisation. No offence to them, but
no, look, a lot of people work hard. And again, as you said, no offence, it's not a universal truth, but when I sit with my staff and my wife, they ask me, what's the goal for this year? I say sustainability. Everybody wants to grow. We want to grow 2x, 3x, 5x. I want to grow for my family, for my staff, but sustaining it with the right people and working with the right clients, it's where it's at. It makes you get up every day and work with the same people.
And it's motivating,
100%.
Because I know I've looked at a lot of like business loans before, but then also residential. And to be honest, when I was researching some of the content for this episode, there was a lot of sad stories about business owners who have given up before they've even started. They've just decided that they can't do it based on whether it's an online calculator or, like the mortgage calculations, or they've just decided that mentally they don't feel like they can do it. And I'm like, that's devastating because a conversation.
Reminds me of a quick story.
Go for it.
Had recently a plumber with his wife come into my office. I run so I get them to sign a privacy consent and I run their credit file. Very sad story. His credit file had 8 or 9 late repayments. I was like, are you paying your mortgage late? He's like, no. I'm paying $700 every week. I was like, who told you to pay that? And what day do you pay? He's like, every week. I was like, what day of the week? Have you set that up with your bank? He used to bank with an ANZ. He used to deal with an ANZ banker. Family, whatever it was. I was like, this is not right. You're paying a day late every week.
Oh, shit.
And it's not been set up. And I couldn't refinance him. He needed money urgently to renovate his house. We couldn't help at that time.
Oh, that's devastating.
Yeah.
But
so,
how does that mistake even happen for him?
No letters sent by the bank, no calls made by the bank that you're late, nothing told to him by that banker he used to deal with. It was a sad experience. I think having right people in your corner is the key. I'm not saying that same person, blemishes the whole bank, but it's a sad story for this business owner who wanted money urgently and we couldn't help.
And what happens with those situations? Like that's just like, how does someone like that, how do they correct that issue?
It has to be corrected at the bank level and raised it, and the bank, if they agree that it's a genuine mistake by them, they can deal with your Equifax and make sure that it doesn't reflect on the credit report. So this guy can go out and borrow more money.
That's devastating though.
Yeah.
Like what a frustrating time for him because, he's just trying to do the right thing.
And it's a small example. Again, as I said, people come to us after lodging and where accountants didn't even, I think accountants should be asking this question as well. Like a lot of accountants these days have brokers sitting in their office, or it complements the profession. So husband's an accountant, wife's a broker. I've seen that a lot. And sometimes we lose business to them, but that's okay.
Bastards.
And that's okay. If we're good, nobody's going to go anywhere. This is what I say.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and again, they should be asking that same question. What's the goals for this year?
Yeah.
Even if it's as small as buying a ute, even if it's as big as upgrading a home. An accountant should know it and structure the finances.
100%. And one question I wanted to ask around this is a lot of like this is more like your first home buyers. Would you say that a lot of your self-employed are looking to buy their first home, or are they mainly looking to buy their second home they've already got?
No, a mix of everything. I get first home buyers as well all the time, being new business owners or business owners who've been doing it for ages but haven't had a chance to buy their first home, are still renting. I get business owners who've been renting the same warehouse for 20 years and nobody telling them that they can buy this warehouse, and they've been paying $5,000, $10,000 a month in rent, and the mortgage for that warehouse comes lower.
Oh my God.
We get a lot of people. It's just a matter of asking, and thanks to my Telstra job that helped me in discovering needs of clients, asking the right question, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, well,
I'm not upselling anything. I'm not upselling a credit card. I'm asking them, how much do you pay? Most of the time, being an accountant, I can see on their financials what they're paying as rent.
Yeah.
Rental expense, 90 grand. 90 grand? What do you have? What sort of warehouse is it? Oh, it's 1,000 squares. How much would that be in the market today? $1 million? Well, $1 million, it would be 7.5 to rent it.
Yeah.
To buy it outright, to buy it on mortgage rather than paying 90 grand a year, and you would own it.
Wow.
To give you another small example, I keep thinking of
No,
scenarios.
I love this because scenarios are better. Right, go for it.
I deal with a client in Oakley. He runs a factory from, I don't know how long, 40 odd years. Looking at him, he must be in his 60s. He makes boards for those real estate agents, for sale boards. He's been doing it for ages, and I love meeting him. He's been renting that factory and paying 110 grand on rent every month.
110 grand a month.
Sorry, a year in rent every month. Sorry. A year on rent. We were able to secure that factory for him. The plan is to pay it off in 10 years because he makes decent money.
Yep.
He's also got a plan to hand this factory over and tie his boots and give it to a worker who works, considering the worker is loyal by then and stays.
Mm-hmm.
He started being close to me and sharing his stories on what his plan is. I think you're already 60. You've done this for long. What's your plan? He's like, if I can pay this factory off, give this to this guy, I'll still get income from the factory, keep a bit of shareholding. He'll pay me rent from this factory, and what a retirement strategy.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. He doesn't have to sell the business to someone. He'll give it to someone to run it. He'll take a chunk of profit, could be 10%, 20%.
Yep.
So I tell business owners, buying a commercial property and the place where you've been paying rent could be a great retirement strategy because you're not going to be working forever. It's going to be used by your generations if they want to work in your business. But if your son doesn't want to be a tradie that you are, you still got that commercial property. Sell it, make capital growth, retire, or rent it out, whatever it could be.
And I think this is where a lot of people start to look at SMSF if they're eligible. And because you can buy commercial property through that.
Yeah, 100%.
And then that becomes your retirement plan. It's a good strategy. I feel like commercials become a really popular topic.
Funny enough, I get a lot of people come to the office to buy a home, and then when I get to know that they've been renting their commercial premises, the topic changes to say home can come later, let's buy this first.
Well, yeah.
There's nothing right or wrong in it. Some people believe in rent vesting, some people want to buy their first home, some people want to buy the commercial property first. There's no right or wrong.
No, of course not.
Depending on the scenario and circumstances.
And it's whatever their goals are, like what's going to help them realise that goal.
Yeah, 100%.
Like if they want to buy a house ultimately, but they're happy to keep renting and they want to buy the factory instead, go for it.
100%.
So it's so interesting because like from the buyer's advocacy lens, I'm always looking at, well, what's the asset type that we're purchasing and what's that return going to mean for you? But then working with, like you said, the accountants or the mortgage brokers to understand, well, is that going to get them that return 100%. If I buy this asset for them? And a lot of the time you'd be like, there's a guy.
It becomes a results-based. I won't use the word transaction. I hate to use that word. I think it becomes a results-based sort of relationship where they've involved someone like a BA to do the job. Then they'll be expecting it to grow and bring that equity in after 2 years or 3 years, depending on what the expectations are set by the BA as well. And then you leave it to the experts. I think we as business owners are hardest working people. We are time poor. We've got so much to deal with, the phone calls, the staff, your stock, your bills, your rents. You should have a team. It doesn't cost you anything. You're paying your accountant anyway. Be more close to him. Loop in your mortgage broker. Have a BA in place. Know you're paying a BA for results, but that's there for a reason.
Yeah.
At least you don't have to do the hard yards, check the property, building pest, whatever it takes. They're doing all that stuff for you.
Correct. And, you know, like you said, as a business owner, you're flat out. Like
you use that time to make more money.
Correct. It's like the last thing that, you know, you want. And for those of you listening who are in the camp of, no, I'll do it myself, I'm not going to spend more money to make money. How much is your time worth? That's 100%. What I always say. Like, I can't imagine at the moment, like I'm fortunate that we bought our house first, you know, and it's mortgaged, but I've got the business that I run now.
100%.
I'm fortunate in that sense that I did it that way. I can't imagine layering, going to move out of a house and keep running this business effectively.
100%.
That would just be a nightmare to me.
And think about it. Same goes for business owners. A person who's been running this factory out of a leased premises for 20 years, your vendor would be a good person now.
Yeah.
But say your vendor's not there anymore and it's taken over by his son and his son wants to kick you out. Your business stability is gone. I know you could run the business from factory B, but that might change the whole scenario for you.
Yeah, it can change a lot.
You might be sitting in a gold mine with the surroundings, with access to a lot of things, freeway, you name it. But buying that premises and offering that vendor at the right time could save your business for years to come.
Yeah, and
I've seen that so many times.
Well, it's interesting, like, if you're seeing this play out, it's like, what's that advice to give these, business owners that are listening today that are kind of going, I don't know what to do. What's a step that they can take to kind of make the assessment before they totally write off their situation that they can't do it?
Sit down with the mortgage broker. First step. I'm not saying it because I am. If I think about it, people who start off by sitting with us, we do the whole assessment. We know where you are, how much savings you've got, what are your expenses. We don't stop you from doing these expenses or start telling you straight away, pay off this loan. We want to know where you want to be and how we can get you there.
Yeah.
Is it even possible? People start asking, when can I buy it from here? People get up and say, oh, so when can I make an offer? I was like, relax. Let's go step by step.
I always say property, I've got this saying and I say it all the time and these guys are probably sick of it. I say property is the reward for all the hard work.
Yeah.
So when you start on this journey, everyone does the first thing. What do? Mentally, they go, want to buy a house, they go to realestate.com immediately.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're borrowing.
No.
They have no idea if they can afford it. And then they start falling in love with the look and feel of properties in a certain suburb at a certain price bracket. They'll go, 700,000 seems right. Then they go to a broker. Then the broker tells them.
It has to be done in a smarter way. If you ask me, at 2017, being a single and income earner, I bought my first home. Did I do it right? No. I bought it expensive than I should have. I exhausted all my borrowing capacity back then that I have. It was decent because the interest rates was 1.94. I loved that time. The borrowing capacity came really good and I exhausted it. Was it the fair decision? No. I tell them, don't spend up to your borrowing capacity. Make the first smart decision. Your first property can set you up for your dream home or your business.
Yeah.
A lot of people who make these smart moves, they buy it at the right price today. 2-3 years down the line, we revalue that property. There's either equity to buy their second home or their dream home or invest that money into a new business.
Yeah.
So a lot of doors open if you take your first wise decision.
Yeah,
And that
true.
happens if you sit down with a mortgage broker. I went straight to bank in 2017.
Right, interesting.
Yeah. So if I went to a mortgage broker and maybe who was much more
Versed and
compassionate and understanding, hey, you're a single earner, don't spend 670 because your borrowing capacity is 670, go lower, have a buffer in place. What's your goal? Getting married in 1 or 2 years? Yes, that was my goal. Nobody told me that.
It's crazy to me because I think when it comes to the goal setting, it's so important. Like even for buyers advocacy, we always talk about the goal. Like before you start buying in a hotspot and all these things, that hotspot won't mean nothing to your strategy, right? And when it comes to like weddings, getting married, buying, what I find with a lot of buyers is there's a lot of pressure around the word or the words first home.
Yeah.
Okay, because you put in your brain that it has to be this beautiful, lovely home. Your first home, we need to move away from that terminology. I want it to be starter home.
Starter home, that's
Starter home. That is the one that's going to help you
market.
to get that first nicer house. So when you start to say first home, you're all of a sudden picturing, I'm going to have that 4-bedroom just in case I have kids. Buy for your means. If you're a young couple, maybe like I know kids can pop up. Maybe it's a 3-bedroom.
That's fine.
Maybe it's a 2-bathroom, 1-bathroom.
Yeah.
Buy for your means. Get in the market. Don't spend all your money or your borrowing capacity. And I'll admit that's something I didn't do. Like we got the borrowing power for 900,000, and this was in COVID for buying our house here. And I remember I'm a spender. I'm like, let's just go.
We're mostly staying at home. Might as well enjoy.
I was like, no, we'll just stay home. We'll enjoy. My partner's much more conservative. She's more sensible with money. And she goes, why would we do that? Like, it's going to put so much pressure. We don't need to buy the double story. I'm like, no, let's just build the double story. She's like,
I get this a lot of times. People say, I'll work 7 days, just get me the loan. I was like, no, I'm not letting you buy this home. Do you even need 5 bedrooms? I always ask.
Yeah.
Sometimes people look at me, why is this guy asking us, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
But I say, hey, I got to ask you, I can see you both and the kid, what's the 5-bedroom for? Because your best friend did it? You want to show off? You want to stay in the lane? Or you want to get out and just be away from your means and just keep working 7 days and not see your kids to pay that mortgage?
It's so true. I think like it goes back to that pressure, right, of the perception.
Of the first home.
Of the first home.
100%. Of the first home. And I've seen people, and it's not the truth in the world, but either you'll see people wanting to buy first home are happy, or either they'll hate it. They don't want it.
Yeah.
You have a meeting with them, you tell them this is how it works, they don't want it.
Yeah.
They've been so traumatized in the past that they just don't want it.
And it goes back to your advice, talk to a broker. I've always said that to any clients. My first question as a BA has always been, have you talked to anyone about your finance before we start? And they're like, oh, no. I'm like, right, let's do that first. Yeah. Because anything I talk about is useless at this point. If a
broker's done it themselves, that's an icing on the cake because they'll guide you what mistakes they made. I'm not shying away ever from telling them that was the biggest mistake I did. I don't want you to do it.
Yeah,
I
correct.
was choking when I got married. My whole income was going towards the mortgage when the rates rise came. I had no money. My wife's like, you're not such a good income. Where is it going? And I had to just explain, this is what it is. I've got this credit card. I took this mortgage. I've got this personal loan left to pay because I took a personal loan when we got married.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's communication between both partners as well when you're buying your first home. Very important. People don't do it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the time there's always one party that wants to hide more. And that comes out like a lot of buyers advocacy, like appointments that I've had, and a lot of my, like other guests who are BAs, they talk about this, the amount of buyers that will sit down with them and all of a sudden they're finding out that he has a credit card. I didn't know about that. And they're finding out that all these issues are
be on the same
up.
page. We want to spend 700 it is. We're not falling in love with 800K property. We're not. That might be for 5 years down the line or 3 years down the line.
Yeah. Okay. And I remember there was a friend of mine online and she was very excited. This is years ago. And she posted, we just bought our $1 million home. We bought $1 million home. We bought $1 million home. That was all that.
Million. Yeah.
Million. It was just off its head. I'm like, okay, fair enough. But then I started to see one of my other friends who knew her, she was in the market to buy. We were having a chat and she goes, oh, so I want to buy in this, but I want to get it for $1 million. And I said, is that because so-and-so has been advertising her house as $1 million property? And she said, no. And I've gone, don't feed into it. I said, don't worry about it. I said, she's going to say it's $1 million. You don't know what it's worth.
Depends what you're chasing. I meet a lot of people and smart business owners who I can see are making a lot of money. They've learned it over time with experience that we want freedom.
Yeah.
We don't want to be working 5 days. A lot of my clients have started working 3.5, 4 days, working offsite because they can afford to. They've designed their life and their business in a way it doesn't feel a pain, and they're doing it really well.
But you're one in that same boat. Like I remember when we were talking, what was refreshing, and inspiring even for me as a business owner is your work-life balance and the way you prioritize it.
100%.
I looked through all your reviews on all of them. There was a lot. There was hundreds. But the top things that stood out to me was that almost mentoring or that guidance or that support, even from business owners who have managed to get funding for their first homes or their second homes. It's just inspiring to see that, and I love the way you talk with passion. So this was a really good conversation.
I think there's a time for everything. When I came into the country as an immigrant and as a student, there was a pressure of paying your uni fees, paid 60 grand for the course. There was a pressure of getting your parents down here, getting married. There's a time for everything. Work 18 hours, work on less leave, build what you need to build. And again, don't do it at the cost of your health, but you got to stop. There's an art of slowing down. I'm following that at the moment. I need to switch off at 5:30 or 6. There has to be a non-negotiable park time with the kid. If a client calls me at 9, he's saying, hey, I was looking online. I was like, why are you sitting on real estate at 9 p.m.?
Yeah. A quick pause. We'll be right back. Here's a word from one of our sponsors who supports the show. If you've ever considered investing commercially instead of residentially, then you need to have a chat with Michael Leipnick from Aston Constructions. Aston Construction specialises in childcare as an investment strategy. They'll see through the project from development all the way to the end to renting it out. He works with investors looking for structured commercial opportunities beyond the standard residential path. If that's something you're exploring, his details are in the show notes below. Reach out and have a chat.
Simple, have a balance on when you want to do, what you want to do. There has to be a time for everything. Time crunch. Have a work-life balance. I think this mortgage trap, the only clients who call me when there's a rate rise, who've been choking and who are not listening. I don't get that money now.
Yeah.
Because
sorted them out.
I'm good at telling them, hey, you're not doing this right.
Yeah.
And you're going to struggle.
No, I think the structuring is a big thing, especially with existing people who want to refinance to do something else, or the ones that are trying to get into the market, the structuring around their loan and what their business is doing, how their business is performing, you need a plan.
100%.
And I'm so thankful that you came on the show. I'm just checking and I'm like, oh my God, we've talked so much. I can't believe how quick the time's gone. Thank you so much, Anmol, for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom and just like your reassurance. I think if anything today was like a therapy session.
100%. I love talking about it. Sessions like this make you just be grateful on how far you've come.
Yeah.
Think about 2020. I was working from a bedroom, and then in 2025, 2026, we've got a beautiful office. Wife who supported me back then, don't sign up for that corporate job, is working alongside, and we're not killing each other every day. We've got our own divisions to manage, and it's working like a fine-tuned business, and I love it. We've got a good staff who we look after, really. Even if they are overseas, they're part of the family. So I'm grateful to be doing this, and hopefully this session helps a lot of people out there learning the hard way.
No, I think so. I love your story. I love your passion. So thank you, Anmol, for coming on and doing this today.
Thank you, Joe. We'll do it again soon, hopefully.
Oh, 100%. We're going to talk more topics. Like, you don't think you got away with it that easily. So I guess, for those of you out there tuning in and you're contemplating whether, can you borrow, can't you borrow, should you? Have a conversation. If I can give you anything out of today and Anmol's discussion, it's pick up the phone and have that conversation. It's not going to hurt. And at the end of the day, you might walk away with a plan, or you might walk away with a solution or a next step. And that's what we're all about. So thank you everyone for tuning in today to the podcast, and thank you, Anmol, for being here again. Okay, thank you. That was a wrap on the No BS Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Agresta, and we will catch you next time to unpack more property insights and finance. We'll see you then. That's a wrap for this episode of the No BS Real Estate Podcast, powered by Abodi AI. If you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might need it. If you're looking for more guidance on your home buying journey, you can visit www.abodi.com.au for expert advice, property insights, and the tools you need to find the right home with confidence. If you're already on your journey, you can also download our app. Just search Abodi AI on the App Store or Google Play. Have any questions or want to connect, you can follow us on Instagram at abodi.com.au or send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.